A few years ago, I had this weird belief about myself. I genuinely believed that I was a lazy person. Not joking. Whenever I saw those YouTube videos about waking up at 5 a.m., taking ice baths, journaling for an hour, and grinding for 12 hours straight, I thought, that's great for them. But that's never going to be me. Because if I had a free afternoon, my natural instinct wasn't to optimize it. It was to lie on the sofa and watch YouTube videos. And honestly, part of me felt guilty about it. I thought that successful people had some magical amount of discipline that I just didn't have. But over time, I discovered something amazing. The most productive periods of my life didn't happen when I became more disciplined. They happened when I became less reliant on discipline altogether. And by the end of this video, I will show you the one question I always ask whenever I'm procrastinating. It's probably saved me hundreds of hours over the last few years. The day that changed my mind. I remember one specific day. I had 3 important things to do. Finish a project, reply to some emails, work on a side project I was excited about. Simple. But somehow I spent almost the entire day doing none of them. You know the feeling. You check your inbox, then YouTube, then Instagram, then you make coffee, and suddenly it's 4 p.m. and you've achieved absolutely nothing. That evening I remember thinking, this can't be a motivation problem, because I actually wanted to do those things. Something else was going on. The realization. Eventually I started noticing something. The people that I knew that seemed incredibly disciplined weren't constantly forcing themselves to do work. They had simply removed a lot of the obstacles. For example, a friend of mine never missed gym sessions. I assumed he was highly motivated. Then I learned that he lived 2 minutes away from the gym. His gym clothes were already packed. And he went at exactly the same time every day. He wasn't relying on willpower. He had engineered the decision out of existence. And that's when it clicked. Maybe discipline isn't about trying harder. Maybe it's about making things easier. The 2-minute experiment. So I decided to test something. At the time, I wanted to write more. But every day I tell myself I should write for an hour. And every day I avoided it. So I changed the rule. Instead of writing for an hour, I only had to open the document. That was it. No word count, no pressure, just open the document. And something funny happened. Almost every time I opened it, I ended up writing anyway. Because the hard part was never writing. The hard part was starting. My lazy productivity philosophy. These days, whenever I want to build a habit, I ask myself one question. How can I make this ridiculously easy? Want to read more? Book goes on pillow. Want to exercise? Workout clothes come out the night before. Want to film YouTube videos? Camera stays permanently on the desk. Every successful habit in my life became easier before it became consistent. That's the opposite of what most people do. Most people try to become stronger. I try to make the task weaker. The hidden cost of motivation. One thing I wish someone had told me earlier is that motivation is expensive. Motivation requires energy. Motivation requires emotion. Motivation requires the right mood. Systems don't. When I relied on motivation, my productivity looked like a roller coaster. Great week, terrible week. Amazing Monday, awful Tuesday. But systems created stability. And stability beats intensity every single time. The biggest mistake. I think the biggest mistake people make is setting standards that are too high. Because high standards feel exciting. They make us feel ambitious. But they also make us quit. I've done this so many times. Starting a new workout plan, creating an impossible schedule, building a complicated productivity system, and then abandoning it 2 weeks later. Now I aim for something different. I aim for consistency, because a habit you can sustain for 2 years is infinitely more valuable than a habit you can sustain for only 2 weeks. So if you've ever thought, I'm just not disciplined enough, I want you to consider another possibility. Maybe you are not the problem. Maybe the system is. Because the most productive people I know aren't superheroes. They don't wake up excited every morning. They don't have unlimited motivation. They've simply made good decisions easier to repeat. And that's something all of us can do. If this video helped, subscribe for more strategic thinking. Now go build the systems that crush your goals.